Good afternoon, everyone. We're going to get underway here. Welcome again to On the Issues. This is our regular series of conversations here at Marquette University Law School featuring news and policymakers. Today we're joined by the Mayor of Milwaukee and candidate for governor, Tom Barrett. Please give him a warm welcome to Marquette University Law School.
Thank you. Thank you.
It's good to have you with us. I thought I'd begin with the big news of the day. What do you think about Father Wild's decision that he's going to retire in June of 2011?
Well, I was very disappointed. I think he has done a phenomenal job. And speaking as the mayor of the city, he has really, really worked closely with us to have Marquette be a part of the city. And I appreciate that very, very much. This is not a situation, a lot of times people talk about the town and gown rivalry. And I think he's made it very, very clear that he wants the gown portion, if you will, the academic portion, really to be part of the city. And I think that's a great tribute to him.
We are going to focus our discussion today on Mayor Barrett's bid for the governor's office. And I thought I might begin with a question that I'll be asking. And I'll say this right up front. We'll also be talking with Scott Walker next week and Mark Newman a little bit later in the month or early next month. But I thought I'd begin by dealing with a couple of more philosophical questions. First of all, your decision to run for this office. Why are you running, and was there any hesitation in your decision to run?
Well, let me start out with the second question, the hesitation. I think people have to realize that the day that the word seeped out that Governor Doyle was not running for re-election was the same day that I started my summer vacation at State Fair Park. With my little incident at State Fair Park. And so the next morning when the governor and his wife were visiting me in the hospital, before my wife even got home from California, she was outside of town, I was in no condition to make any major decisions. And fortunately, I had a number of very good friends who said to me, and this is, I think, a good rule just for people in general in their lives, don't make any major life decisions while you're on drugs. And I was on drugs, legal drugs, just so you understand that, for a while afterwards. And it was also a situation where my wife was starting a new job, and my kids were in 4 different schools. Again, I was lying around the house drugged up. And so I really had to put some time into arranging my personal life and frankly, healing somewhat. But when people have said that I tarried, if you will, or delayed too long, I do point out that the decision or the announcement that I would be a candidate for governor came approximately 50 hours, so 2 days after I had the last pins taken out of my hand. Mm-hmm. And I think it was just sort of a psychological thing that I'd rather be able to physically do the job, and both for the campaign and the job itself. So once I got in, and I did talk about it with my wife, and I talked about it with my kids, and we came to it as a family decision. And right now, I couldn't be happier that I'm in this race. And I'm very, very comfortable with it. It does put, obviously, as it does on all families, it puts some strains on my family. And I can tell you that as I deal with my staff and say, no, I have parent-teacher conferences that night. We have to work around the schedule. And I'm going to try to continue doing that, both as candidate and hopefully as governor, because my family is very important to me. And that gets to the first part of your question. I want this to be a state where my children and our collective children can get a very good education. I want this to be a state where our children and my children can get a job where they can support their families. And I want this to be a state that the people are proud in living in. And put it another way, I want my kids to have jobs so they can support me when I'm older. And I don't think that's dissimilar from a lot of people who are here today. We want the future of our state to be very positive. And I am concerned, and I've spent 25 years in public service. I'm very concerned, and I think all of us have to be concerned when you look at the state of the economy and when you look at the state of the state's finances, that there are some very serious decisions out there. And I looked at it and I thought, I think we need some adult supervision here to deal with these very, very serious issues that we have.
What do you see as the proper role of state government in the lives of Wisconsin residents? What is the proper role?
Well, I was meeting with some governors several months ago, and I can tell you the governor of Montana, who's one of these cowboys who rides in, he said, well, you just go out and you tell people that the role of state government is to educate, medicate, and incarcerate. And then you get on your horse and you ride away. And in a sense, so that's not really that far from what the major roles of government, state government are. The education system, both the K-12 and the university system, our technical schools. There's a lot of state support, and I think our universities have become really economic engines in parts of the state. And as we look back at jobs, because jobs is what this is going to keep coming back to over and over again, we have to be supportive of our K-12 system and our university and technical schools. Certainly, I think playing a role in healthcare. And here in Wisconsin, we've had a very, very proud tradition of being a progressive state when it comes to healthcare. The Badger Care program that I worked to help found when Governor Tommy Thompson was in office, and that was started on a bipartisan basis. And we were able to bring a lot of people in and get health insurance, making sure that people who are elderly have nursing home coverage, or preferably being able to live in the community with programs that allow them to do that. So certainly health care, and then incarceration is a major, the whole penal system, and not just building prisons, but how you help people make the reentry from prisons back to the community is an important issue. So those are our three right there. But in addition to that, clearly the state, I think, has to help get this economy going again, and I think the state has to be proactive and aggressive. And I'll tell you, as mayor, I've been proactive and aggressive in trying to create jobs in this community. So those are all, I think, part of what the state government needs to do.
We'll get into the subject of jobs in just a minute, but I do want to have you address something that you hear already in the campaign. One of your potential opponents, Scott Walker, says you would be the third term of Jim Doyle. And help the audience understand, how are you different than Jim Doyle?
Well, I think just the mere fact that I have been a mayor for the last 6 years tells you that I have learned in this job that what's really important to people is to get things done. And as I often say, what you learn as mayor is you learn that people do not care whether their garbage is picked up by a Democrat or a Republican. They just want their garbage picked up. And they don't care whether their streets are plowed by a liberal or conservative. They want to have their roads plowed. And so it is the ultimate pragmatic job. And what I look to do is to extrapolate from that, because I think the most important issue that we face as a state right now is the need for economic growth and the need for jobs. And I don't think that should be or is a partisan issue. I think that is a lot of taking off your suit coat, rolling up your sleeves, working with employers, letting them know that you want them to be here. And again, my track record over the last 6 years is I helped found the Milwaukee 7. And that's the regional economic development group that we have here. And that was no small feat, because for decades we had very sharp divisions between the city and the suburbs. And based on my experience in Congress, I looked at places like Seattle or Denver or Portland, communities I thought were doing well. And I thought they were taking more of a regional approach, and that we were far too insulated in how we approach things. And I wanted us to work together. And we've had some great successes as a result of that, just in the last several months. If you look at Republic Airlines, if you look at Ingeteam 2 weeks ago, if you look at Talgo just this week, we have really focused on creating jobs. So again, I am very much a pragmatist. I want to get things done. I'm going to work extremely hard, but then I want to go home and see my wife and kids.